You know that weird point in life where maybe you're about to graduate, or maybe you just graduated, or maybe it's just off in the future, and you're trying to figure out how to get from there to a career, and it can seem kind of daunting? I'm hoping we can fix that. Hey, I'm Dave. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see today, be sure to comment down below, subscribe, hit that bell. It really helps me, it helps support this channel. So today we're going to be talking about how to get a job right out of college. Again, it can seem like a daunting task. I'm going to try to break it down and just give some pointers that can help you bridge that gap between your education and your career. So there's really three things that this comes down to, or three categories that I'm going to talk about today. The first is how to find good jobs. The second one is how you can tailor your resume and your cover letter to a specific job. And the third one is how you can actually nail the interview. Sweet, so let's talk about finding good jobs. One piece of advice I give to people here is don't focus too much on the specific job title. You want to be looking in your industry, and you want to be looking maybe at specific companies you'd like to work at. I can say from I've worked in tech for, I've worked in tech for like eight years now. We've had people who started as salespeople and ended up being product managers. We've had people who started as designers and ended up as back-end software engineers. We've had people who started on our care team, so basically like in a call center, and they've worked their way up to being senior product managers. What I'm saying is if you get your foot in the door and you show that you're passionate and that you want to grow and succeed and help the company succeed, you're probably going to be fine. So that's the first thing. Focus on the industry, focus on your industry, focus on companies that you'd be interested in working at. You can always work your way up the ladder, move laterally, do what you need to do. The next thing is you want to reach out to your network. Do you have friends who work at companies you like to work at? Do you have classmates who work at companies you'd like to work at? Do you have professors who maybe used to work at certain companies, or maybe they're an adjunct professor and in their day job they're working at a company? Reach out to those people. A lot of people get jobs through references, not through just randomly throwing resumes out in the wind and hoping that some company picks it up, right? Or that theirs somehow stands out in the stack of hundreds of other applicants. You want to make sure you can stand out. One way of doing that is knowing somebody there. One other thing I always tell people is don't feel limited by the job qualifications. So usually when you see a job posting, it's like, here's everything we need to see in a candidate. You know, it's a lot like those house hunter shows on like HGTV, where this young couple comes in, they're like, I want a house that's in the city. I want it right next to work. I want a dog park next door. I want it to be an old colonial. I want 3,000 square feet, granite countertops, open concept. What do they call that? Yeah, open concept. They want all this room for entertaining their guests. I don't know why they all think that they're like entertainers. So basically that young couple is going in with a wish list, right? Of everything they'd love to see in a house. And you know what happens every single time? Their realtor finds them some dump in the middle of the city that's all run down, but it's got a lot of charm. Or they find them just about everything they need, but it's like a 2-hour commute to work, it's far away from family, and it's not what they asked for, right? There's always compromises. But you want to be that charming dump in the city. That's not a good way to say that. Don't be a dump. So the point is, recognize that that's a wish list and apply anyways. Now, obviously, if it's like, vice president of the company and you're right out of college, you're probably not going to make it. But if it's an entry-level position that's asking for 1 to 3 years of experience, consider your education to be experience. Consider internships to be experience. I've had about 3 or 4 different jobs in the tech industry at this point. I have never been qualified for one of them. My first job right out of college wanted, I think 2 to 3 years of experience. And I did not meet that qualification. I had like 1 or 2 internships under my belt, but they were short-lived. And I applied anyways. And you know what? In the interview, I did pretty well, and I ended up doing pretty good at that job. And the same goes for my next jobs. Like I've never been qualified, so you never want to let the job post itself limit you. All right, next thing we're going to be talking about today is tailoring your resume and cover letter, and really any communications to hiring managers to a specific job posting or to an industry if you're just kind of going more broad. So the first thing about tailoring a resume is you want to match the wording in the job posting. So this isn't just copying and pasting and dumping a bunch of keywords in there, because that sounds shady. That is shady. And nobody's, they're going to see right through that immediately. So what you want to do is make sure that you're using the same type of language that they use. A good example of this might be if at one of your prior jobs, let's say you were responsible for training new hires. And one of the responsibilities or requirements on the job you're applying to is mentoring or mentorship. Well, you're not going to put training on your resume. You're going to say you mentored new hires. Boom, right there, you've matched the keywords in that job post. That's super important because it's going to help when the robots scan your resume. You want to match a lot of keywords. And when the hiring managers read your resume, you want to speak their language. Another really important thing is when you write your cover letter, whether it's an email or reaching out on LinkedIn, whatever it is, when you're making that contact with any hiring manager, anyone who's going to have an in with that company, you want to make sure that you show you've done your research, you understand what that company is about, you understand their goals, you understand their mission, and that it aligns with you, right? And it's really important, if you can do this, to figure out who the hiring manager is. This is going to get you, like I talked about, getting a foot, ahead of other people, because there's going to be hundreds of other applications for every job out there. If you know who the hiring manager is, that's going to give you a huge leg up. That doesn't mean you need to know them personally, but if you reach out to the company and say, hey, I saw this position, I was wondering who's hiring for this, I'd love to connect with them on LinkedIn, or if it's local, you could say, I'd love to go grab a coffee with them, even just talk about the position and see if it's a good fit. That's going to give you a huge advantage over anybody else in that applicant pool. All right, and let's talk about the final thing, which is nailing the interview. So you've done all this work, you've researched the company, you've applied to the right jobs, you've got your foot in the door, and now you're gonna have an interview. So like I said before, do your research on the company and its mission. It's really gonna show in the interview, and if you can show that you're passionate about the things that the company cares about, that's gonna help a ton. You wanna be confident, but honest. This is a hard one. Some people have trouble walking this fine line because sometimes you can be overconfident and it's pretty obvious that you're just kind of lying your way or faking your way through it. You don't want to do that. You want to be honest. When I was interviewing for my first product management job, they asked me about specific product management methods about testing software. I had no experience with it, right? So instead of trying to kind of fake my way through an answer, I asked them about how they use that method at their company. And then they gave me a little bit of details, and I thought about it, and I said, I can see how that would be super useful. It's really exciting you guys are using that, and I'd love to be able to use it there at that company. It's even given me some ideas about how I'd apply it at my current job. And then I could go on and tell them about things we were working on and how it could have been helpful. I didn't have the experience, but the point is I grasped the concept, and I understood how I could apply it. I guess the point is, saying I don't know in a job interview is fine as long as it's not the only thing you say. Just saying I don't know and leaving it at that is not going to go well. But being honest and saying I don't know, but I'm really excited to know and I bet I could figure it out and apply it, that's going to help. Another super helpful thing you can do is go on the internet. There's tons of different websites that'll have this information, but look up common interview questions. And I would suggest definitely looking at common interview questions in general, because there are going to be a lot that are just asked at every job interview, but especially you want to look up interview questions for your industry. This is, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. You can write them down and write out what your answer would be, and just doing that over and over and reviewing them over and over in repetition is going to help kind of cement it up here so that you can quickly pull that stuff out in an interview. Another good thing is maybe you could get your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, mom, dad, neighbor, roommate, whoever. You can have them ask you the questions in random order so you don't know which one's coming, and work on giving a solid answer to those. And while we're talking about interview questions, another really important thing is bringing your own questions. I've been on both sides of the table at a lot of different interviews, and I can tell you that almost every interview will end with the employer asking if you have any questions. If you say no, it's not a great answer. So you want to make sure you come with some questions prepared. Think about things like, how do you like working at this company? It's kind of a basic one. Everybody will ask that. Another great question to ask is when they think, 6 months from now, they have someone who's filled this position and is doing it great. What do those characteristics look like that are making this person perform really well in that job? This isn't necessarily where you want to ask any HR or benefits related questions, because either you've gotten that out of the way up front with a recruiter, or once you've nailed the interview and it comes time to negotiate compensation and benefits package, that's when you can bring that stuff up. All right, and one other really important thing is after every interview, after every interaction with a hiring manager, with a recruiter, always follow up. You don't want them to forget about you. You have to remember you are one of many, many different people they're likely talking to. You want to be the one that stands out. You want to be the one who's kind and courteous and follows up. And you want to be the one who shows that you're really driven and excited about this position. So anyway, I hope these tips were helpful for you. I do have links down below to some of my resume videos if you want to go use one of those to make a resume. I also have free downloads on my website, and I have entry-level resumes there for you to check out. Comment down below if you have any questions. I'd be glad to help you out. Thanks for watching.